Hello. G'day, boys and girls. G'day, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Excuse me, I'm dying. I'm not dying, I'm coughing. Rude. How is volume? Let's get the standard technical difficulties out of the way and tell me if it sounds like a robot or a like I'm speaking into a fan, which is what happened last time. I still don't know why. Crystal. That's a good sign. We'll give it a few minutes here to see how many chaps and chapettes we can get here viewing, and then we'll bloody send it. How about that? How's that sound? There's already people asking questions. Loud and clear, brother. I would like to know more. Ryan Oates sounds good. Excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, yeah, no, what's this? Where are you, Jim James? Mr. Fantastic, desire to know more, intensifies. Cohen Sue, Cohen the Epic, MLG, bros late. Mate, I'm early, if anything. I'm bloody early. I'm 6 hours early. In the community post, I said I was going to do it at 9 PM Aussie time. So I thought, though, I would jump in early. So, yeah, apologies to anyone who's expecting it to be then. I thought I'd jump on early and try and capture some of the Ameribros, especially noting you had your 4th of July just the other day. And there is a large chunk of my viewership which is now coming from the United States. So I've got to try and get a sweet spot in the time zones, you know, where I can get the streams servicing the Aussie audience and the American audience. But that's obviously a tricky thing, noting that they're two giant countries with their own time zones and stuff. But yeah, that's where we're at. Supernova says, you released the Starship Troopers vid immediately as I was getting into the franchise. Nice, that's a good, pleasant coincidence. I'm reading the names in the chat, by the way, because there's this weird thing that when I turn this live stream video into a YouTube video on the channel, for whatever reason, it doesn't show the chat. I have no idea why. I think there's one of them, it's worked, but then all the others, like the chat, as in all the live chat, simply disappears. I believe it's if you, at one point I thought it was if you edit the clip, which you can do. So after I record this live with you guys who are watching now, you can go in the YouTube studio and like trim off all this waffle at the start, and then I can do like the little intro, g'day boys and girls, welcome to the stream, time to get going, all that, and trim off all the technical problems at the start. And every time you do that, it gets rid of the chat. So that's why I'm reading the names, which I'll do. So that way, if you're watching this later, or if you're watching this as a video, then you'll know when I'm reading the comments who I'm referring to or who is saying what, if that makes sense. Get what I mean? I'll be asleep at 9 PM, lol. You have to serve the American audience to grow your channel. No problem, brother. Onwards. Joel Dalton. Cheers, bruv. Bloody early. I guess it is Sunday night, you know. 9 PM on a Sunday. Early tubby bye-byes for a rude wakey for Monday morning. Depresso, espresso, work time. But yeah, I get it. How are we looking? How many chaps we got? I'm looking at stats here, and I'm still such a lid at YouTube that I don't know what I'm looking at. Concurrent viewers and views. I'm guessing concurrent viewers is how many people are in the chat room thing. And views is how many people have at any one time been in here. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it. How about that? Actually, before I send it, there's a question up the top here, which happened while the stream was just loading. Neofight_7777 asks, in addition to the battle tactics view, would you do a strategic view on wars shown on screen, like how each battle furthered objectives and changed positions? Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars, etc. I potentially could. I just don't think it's as compelling viewing because it's pretty much just going to be an a visual image slide deck and then talking about the second order effects of, I suppose, whatever. I think that's what you're referring to, like how the tactical level conflicts or battles impacted the broader strategic situation. Is that what you mean? Like how did the victory on the Battle of Naboo further the interests of the whoever Nabooians, or how did that degrade the Trade Federation? Is that what you mean? I suppose you could, but yeah, it's not like there's not going to be a battle simulation, or there's not going to be a battle plan or any of that stuff. So it's not as interesting to me either, because like I keep saying in these streams, that's what I find fun about this, is laying down the tactics, the ground level, boots on the ground perspective of how do you go about these battles. So I could potentially, but it's just not really the not really my, I don't know, my bread and butter at the moment anyway. Skafar that's a dude's name. What do you expect the stream to peak at? I have no idea. I don't stream enough and have not done enough streaming to have kind of a pattern of what is a good stream or what is a bad stream or what is a good or bad audience. I don't know. I'm not too fussed, honestly, as long as there's there's text on the right and I've got someone to bloody yap to here, which I do. Thank you to everyone who's here, then that's fine. I'm pretty much happy to get started. So yeah, I don't know. I think normally I have around 20 people in the chat that I can have a yarn to, and they're bouncing a few questions back and forth. So I think if I've got at least 20, then I can pretty much send it, because there's enough sort of questions to keep the ball bouncing. But with that being said, for those who are tuning in for the first time to one of these lives, most of this is still me bro yapping, as as the chat says, off the PowerPoint, which you should be looking at now. Can everyone see? You should be looking at up here, a PowerPoint of Johnny Rico and co, the Roughnecks, with Starship Troopers. Excuse me, I'm dying. I'm coughing. Starship Troopers debrief. Can everyone see that? No? Yes? Oh god. I get nervous when suddenly the chat stops, especially it's after I've been like, hey, can everyone see the thing? And then it goes silent, and I'm like, okay, everyone just died. Seeing, thank you. You're in a coma. Cool. So I'll probably send it. Again, I think there's a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to narrate what I'm looking at. So at any one point in time, if there's if it does cut out or drop off, that so we're all kind of synced up, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna, as I go through the slides, I'll talk about what I'm looking at, and then I'll also talk about, if anyone's asking questions, I'll read your name, read the question, and answer it to the best of my bloody ability. But oh, there was one other thing I was going to say. I forgot. Oh yeah. Also to the people tuning in for the first time, I'm not very good at streaming. I'm still kind of working this out as I go along, and I have like a single monitor set up here, so it's tricksy because I've got like the PowerPoint up, which obviously I'm reading, and then I flip back and forth to the chat. So I don't see the chat that well because I've got to like flick back and forth rather. So if your question gets skipped over, it's not because I hate you or I'm ignoring you. I just I'm not looking at the chat the whole time. I'm like reading the PowerPoint, and then yeah, focusing on that for the most part. Okay, let's send it. Hello, hey, hi, g'day boys and girls. G'day, welcome to the debrief, welcome to the live stream. It's me, CSRC. So today what we're going to do is go over the Starship Troopers video, which was posted 2 weeks ago. I normally run the debrief about a week after, but due to some personal busyness, I apologise. I simply couldn't get a stream done last Sunday. So here we are 2 weeks later discussing the video in terms of everything that I presented in the video, and then some of the questions and comments that came from you guys out of the comment section on the video itself. Let's click next slide here and bloody hope it sends. Okay, so I've clicked next. There's a delay in the stream because when I click next on PowerPoint, then I'm looking at OBS and it doesn't click over the slide until like another 30 seconds later. And I don't know if that's the case for you guys or if that's just me on my end, what I'm seeing. But anyway, moving on. I'm now looking at a slide that says Whiskey Outpost, and it's my battle map, and there's a comment, screenshot of a YouTube comment on the screen. The first comment is from Professor Travis. Geologist here. That's always a good bloody start. I like getting subject matter experts in the chat. Geologist here. I'm sure the military could have utilised a beefed up but compartmentalised GPR, ground penetrated radar system to survey for pre-existing tunnels, especially on a dry planet like that, or a small seismic setup to watch for potential tunnels being dug in real time. If you can prelay the area with seismometers, at least 3, you should be able to triangulate exactly where the tunnel is being actively dug from. I'll admit though, you'd need to test and develop a system like that, as we're usually looking at earthquakes that are insanely larger in energy and distance from the seismometer. Anyway, he goes on to say a bit more. The point is he's suggesting seismometers, and what he's getting at there is, in the video, the tanker bugs, and for those of you who have seen the film, you'll remember the tanker bugs, they burrow and they pop up in the outpost, and I made pains to try and explain that I think that was the biggest threat, or the most dangerous course of action from the enemy in terms of what they could play tactically to the outpost and to the Marines, and to the Roughnecks, as we see in the film. And I think I end the video with a little kind of, hey, bloody, what do you think about the tunnels? What can you do? Let me know in the comments. Classic YouTuber shenanigans. So a few people jumped in the comments, quite a few actually, which I appreciate, and left their kind of hot tips and tricks for the tunnels. But, you know, when you see Geologist here, and I'm assuming bloody Professor Travis isn't lying, I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt that he is a real geologist. When you see stuff like this, you kind of, it gets your attention and you go, oh, steady Eddie, and you stop scrolling and have a look. Rambling aside, he's talking about doing radars for the tunnels. And like, even if we know they're tunneling already, which we do, knowing where the tunnels start from would be extremely valuable, because then you could target those with indirect fires, or use your even the organic stuff like the mortars to get some damage done to potentially prevent the tunnels even becoming an option in the first place. And it's funny he mentions this, because I was having a chat too on Instagram. There's a very good account called Opinionated Machine Gunner. You should check him out. I've had a few yarns with him over the days, but he's obviously all things machine gunnery. Very, very well versed in that tight area of, well, infantry stuff. He's a Marine man. I was obviously not a Marine man. I was Australian Army man. But there's some similarities. There's lots of similarities. There's a few differences as well between the way the Australians and the Americans, or Marines in particular, do machine gunnery. But separate to machine guns, one of the things he mentioned was that, because I was kind of talking about the plan with him, and hey, what would you do? Where do you think? What should we have? 50 cals where? 7.62 where? This sort of stuff. And he pointed out that one of the, a similar thing would be if you could work out where the tunnels were being dug from, and you could target them before they could even achieve the tunnel start point, then yeah, that would be good. I didn't really involve that because I can't represent it on the map. I'd need a huge scale map to show something like that. And then it would turn into a map like the one from the Battle of Hoth, which in hindsight, I really don't like. I don't like how zoomed out the perspective is. This is like a technical issue thing in terms of it's all my skill or lack thereof in terms of graphic design and all that. But secondly, it's also, I think it would be safe to assume that the tunnels are kind of pre-existing. I get the impression from, you know, cursory analysis of the bugs from the film that they reside in the tunnels underground, and they're not just sort of digging them on an ad hoc basis, like, oh no, there's humans, let's go hide, now we dig tunnels. I think the tunnels are probably pre-existing for the most part, and they can probably just dig branches or new offshoot little paths or whatever to go wherever they need to go. Especially in this case, because we know from the film that there was already a tunnel that led into the outpost, and that gets closed up pretty quick after they arrive. You see Ace, old, I can't remember which one of the Boosie brothers, he chucks the grenade down there, and then they seal a tunnel that leads straight into the Chow Hall. So there are already tunnels under the outpost. We kind of know that. So while it's a very cool plan, it's creative thinking, and I like that, but I'm not too sure it would have been something I could have involved practically, due to both those reasons. Like I said, it's technically would have been difficult to present on a map as small as I had, and secondly, I think it's quite likely that the bug tunnels were already there under the outpost, or if not directly under the outpost, at least under the area where the outpost was. Get what I mean? Okay. I'll check a few questions in the chat and then I'll hit next slide. I'm gonna try not to yap too long on this one, but I say that every time and then it goes for an hour and a half. I'm trying to limit to like an hour and a half. Sometimes they've been 2 hours, but I want an hour and a half for this one. Okay. Josh says, at CSRC, are you friends with Hyperhysterical History and Perrin? I've spoken briefly with Perrin. He commented on one of my videos, which I thought was a high honor, because Perrin obviously does great work. To the uninitiated, he's a Australian YouTuber, and he covers how would you call it? Not Ausint. He does like mostly the logistics side of conflict, and he's done a lot of stuff on Ukraine and Russia and this sort of thing. But very knowledgeable, makes very good, informative videos in a similar, I suppose, sector to what I'm covering, military strategy and that sort of thing. Big fan of Perrin's work. I don't watch that much of his stuff, but that's not against him. It's because I don't watch much of anyone's stuff on YouTube because I'm too busy bloody making my own. I wish I had more time to watch his stuff and other people's stuff. I don't know if I'd say we're friends. We've spoken a few times, but yeah, I do appreciate his work. Hyperhysterical History, I've never engaged or spoken with, but I'm familiar with his TikTok work, and I think he's a chat as well. Like I used to see a lot of his TikTok clips back when I was active for a time on the CSRC TikTok before I simply got over it. And he was probably the only TikTok account that I actually watched or like actively searched out to watch. He's another Australian. He has a YouTube channel as well. But I think his bit is he's a historian, but he covers lots of strategy and tactic stuff as well, but from a more historical perspective. Quick recommendation, go and watch the Hyperhysterical History video on the Battle of Milne Bay in Papua New Guinea, which is from World War II and was the Australians against the Japanese. Amazing. I love the saga or the lore of that battle, and his video on that is terrific. I think it's like 3 hours long, but he's got lots of videos you can kind of, have playing in the background, and you can just listen to it, and you'll take away a lot. Okay, what else we got real quick? Windwalker, 5 schmackos, US dollars as well. Bloody the real dollars. Thank you, good sir, for the donation. If I'm the brain bug, I'm leading with the tankers. Pop up out of the ground in flame range of the base and suppress for the warriors to get close. Yeah, there's certainly, like, I suppose, better ways the bugs could have gone about that. And as a few people have mentioned in the comments, and I'll get to this later on, there's a slide that speaks to it. But yeah, if you do a simultaneous breach with your tankers all launching tunnels at the same time, that's pretty much the way the bugs can get the win if you go off the force composition shown either in the original movie or in my redo of it. But I'll speak similar to this in like a later slide as well. Okay, next slide. So I've clicked next slide. You should be now looking at a comment from Portuguese Sardine. Cool name. And Portuguese Sardine says, the arming distance of the M320 fired 40mm rounds, brackets low velocity. Good distinction he's made there. Could have made them tricky to use effectively against tanker bugs breaching the perimeter, depending how close the engagement was and from where the Marines are firing from. And yeah, I admit there are a few comments that kind of calling poo-poo on the 40mm ID for the QRF squad. So to set the scene, not to set the scene, as a refresher, one of the contingency plans was when the bugs breach, there was a dedicated squad that was pretty much an anti-tunneling squad. So they were just sat there chilling out, or not chilling out, there's a raging battle going on around them. But their sole job was to react to any tunnel that pops up and then go and defeat that threat, whether it was warriors coming out, whether it was tankers, whatever. And in the video I made mention of they should use their 40 mils as well to engage the tanker. It is a little bit loose, might be a fair description, using the 40 mil inside the compound for a couple of reasons. Firstly, arming distance. If we're working doctrinal to my memory from Australian publications, it might be different depending on where you are. We're talking 14 to 27 meters arming distance for the 40mm low velocity HEDP round, so high explosive dual purpose. So there's every chance that you're at risk of it not detonating if they're too close. So 14 meters on the low end, 27 meters on the high end. The outpost is about 60 meters long on the upper end. So yeah, it's sketchy, it's tight, but there would be positions where you could be outside the arming distance and still engage the tanker bug coming out of a tunnel, like, and hit him with a 40mm, that would still detonate. But I'll concede it's a little bit loose. The second thing is then you've obviously got the risk of fratricide, of firing, lob and HE around inside the outpost, which, yes, I also agree is loose. But given the circumstances, we're a company of Marines fighting intergalactic spider bugs. I'm happy if my guys bend the range regulations a little bit and the minimum safe distances for our explosive weapons, particularly 40mm, because even anecdotally, 40mm HE, it's and this is anecdotally stuff I've heard of from Afghanistan and similar things. It's not that deadly. I think the lethal radius is either 5 or 6 meters. I might be getting that mixed up with the frag grenade. But I think 5 meters lethal is like, roll the dice if it's lethal. There's every chance you can have a 40mm go off within 5 meters and, you'll walk away without a scratch. Conversely, you might have one go off within 5 meters and you'll be dead as a doornail. I'm kind of just saying that it's inconsistent, and I don't think I'm willing to take that risk, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of dudes inside the compound launching 40mm at the giant tanker bug, which I think the odds of them missing it, for one, are very, very low. And secondly, the odds of them hitting it and a rogue piece of fragmentation zipping off and then killing one of my guys on the battlements, I think is equally low. So I'll concede, yeah, it's loose, but I think in terms of the risk management profile of the greater battle here, it's a risk I'm willing to take. So yeah, sketchy, but just send it. Let's not be scared. Okay, that's that slide on 40mm. Also, he points out low velocity because I'm not sure if he's referencing, there was a bit of lore behind this as well. There was a while back on the CSRC Instagram, and I think I'd made a post on a Chinese grenade launcher, and the max effective range, it was Crusoe grenade launcher, to quickly clarify, listed the max effective range as 1,500 meters, and there were a bunch of comments like calling me dumb in 20 different synonyms because there's no way that a 40mm round can fly 1,500 meters. And then there was equally amounts of comments from obviously slightly more experienced people saying like, hey, there's 2 types of 40mm grenades. There's the low velocity grenades, which fire out of your M203s and M320s, your under barrel launchers. And then there's high velocity grenades, which is what fires out of Mark 19 and Mark 27. And then similarly with your Russian or Chinese versions as well. And then it turned into this shit show in the comments section of like people calling each other dumb because either a 40mm can or can't fly 1,500 meters. So yeah, it's fun and interesting that he put this distinction here in brackets, the Portuguese sardine, because it is a fun fact, I guess, to the uninitiated, that yeah, there are 2 kind of 40mm rounds, and they're used in 2 different systems. Either your underbarrel or standalone ones, like individual, or your crew served systems, which are high velocity. Okay, let's check a comment here really quick. Who we got? Now that CSRC has done Starship... Sorry, this comes from Cheeseling. Now that CSRC has done Starship Troopers and Star Wars, he should move on to the StarCraft universe. All races have a diverse range of ground and air assets capabilities. Yeah, I can mess with that. But again, yeah, I'm not against doing stuff from gaming, but I'd rather there's like a big set piece battle that I can cover. I'm not sure if is there a StarCraft movie? I don't think there is. I know there's cutscenes and this sort of stuff, but, and I'm not too familiar with StarCraft. Okay, what else we got? Few comments. Flack Happy Billy. The book's MI would be so overpowered in the movie universe. Yes, they would. I have read the book. Let me say that because there's a few comments also kind of insinuating that I'm a dumb head because the book is very different, which I thought I made pains to kind of point out that yeah, the book depiction of the infantry is very different from the film. The book is great. The cool thing about the book is that it ages so well, as old as it is. I think from, I can't remember the year, 1950 something when it was written. If you read that book now, in terms of, and take it for what it is, which is a sci-fi military, I don't know, thriller. I don't know what genre you describe it as. It ages very well. Like it's kind of crazy when you when you read about the technology that he gives to the military in the book, and how it's sort of come to pass. And not that it's like predicted the future, I'm not trying to say that, but it fits in very well. Like you could read it and be like, wow, this is kind of crazy how forward thinking Heinlein was in terms of how he thought about militaries of the future. Okay, let's move on. This is a question from Lukas Klokov, 8728. He asks, wouldn't the UAVs get attacked? To which my quick answer is no, I don't think they would. And this is speaking to, I suppose, the capabilities of the hopper bugs. They're the ones that fly. So like I mentioned in the video, they're pretty much warriors with wings. That's the infamous scene from the movie where the radio man gets like picked up by the hopper and it flies off and puts him up on the rocks. And then Michael Ironside, Radchek shoots him, and then I'd expect any one of you to do the same for him. No one can. I'm not going to do a Michael Ironside impression because impossible. Man's got one of the most iconic but underappreciated voices in Hollywood. I'd expect any one of you to do the same for me. And smokes his own radio man to save him the torture of being eviscerated by the bug's mandibles. But I ramble. No, I don't think UAVs would get attacked because the hoppers are exactly that. The hoppers, they can fly in short bursts. I don't think they can fly to the elevation that a UAV would be operating at, particularly an ISR UAVs, which are the only ones that I had employed in my battle plan. Get what I mean? Makes sense? I don't think the hoppers can fly that high. There's not a whole lot of lore. Sorry, I'll backtrack that. Based on the film, which as I said is what I was using as reference material, at least. If you're citing video games or comics, maybe the hoppers can fly 5,000 meters. I don't know. But yeah, sorry to walk that back and just kind of re-speak. Yeah, citing the film, if we go off what we see in that, I don't think they have the elevation necessary to attack the UAVs. I just simply see no evidence they can fly that high. Let's read a comment. Oh, I see something bloody orange. What's this? Buxom Badger. Oh my goodness. Buxom Badger 7. Thank you for the US $19.99. You're a bloody king and a Chad. Buxom Badger says, thank you for this series. Very enjoyable, although I'm worried I will learn something. Yeah, that's how I trick you, you know? You think you just go on and watch a bloody bit of YouTube, and the next thing you know, you're learning about a bit of, I hope you are anyway, learning about a bit of tactics and strategy. But no, thank you for your donation. Very kind, very much appreciated. Another comment here real quick. Unlucky Gunner, I know you. Have you thought about doing a battle on the ending of Metro Last Light? There's a giant battle of the Nazis, Spartans, and the Communists. What the hell? Is that real? Is this a real thing? Oh, sorry, I know Metro is a real thing, but is that actually what happens in the game? That sounds insane. No, I haven't thought about that because I've never played Metro. I'm familiar with the franchise, but I don't know anything about it other than it's Eastern European and it looks very depressing. So, no, I have not thought about that. But if it's sick, I could look into it. Australian Army Roblox says, will you ever do a video where you take a historical battle, for example, Market Garden, and put in a modern force, for example, replacing British paratroopers with the 82nd Airborne? A question to this theme has come up before, and my answer is always no, for now. In that, as I say, I don't want to touch real battles or real events, mostly because they involve real people who really died. And I think there's kind of a delicate line to be walked between making a educational video that is also very satirical, which is what I'm going for here, while paying kind of respect to, you know, real humans who went out swinging in the glorious crucible and field of combat. So no, I'm not touching real world battles for now. If there comes a time that I can think of a way to do it kind of tastefully and not winding anyone up, then yeah, I would consider it. But not for now, mate. I'm sticking to fictional battles and inserting real forces into fictional battles. One more comment. Josh says, the Doomsday battle from the 3-body problem would be so cool for you to do, but the enemy, what does that say? Trisolarans are extremely overpowered, so I'm not sure what you could do there. I haven't seen 3-body problem. I'd have to give it a go. I could. Okay, one more comment. Norian Arijuna says, all operations thus far have been large-scale defensive operations or mobile defense. will we have company attack operations? Well, I'd encourage you to bloody go watch the Predator video, because the Predator video, which I did very specifically then, is an offensive operation. And so in that, I planned a pretty much company size raid, as you were talking about, and all the logistics that went into that as well. Not all the logistics, but hammered pretty reasonably in depth into the transport plan and this sort of stuff. So they didn't just teleport to the battle. We had to go into how to get them in their own helicopters. So yes, I have done one offensive operation video thus far. It was I'll confess, it's heaps more difficult to do and make than these defensive ones. The defensive ones are kind of simple in terms of how you plan them, and then how I go about making them, like the technical behind the scenes stuff, like making the graphics and making the animations and all that. Much more simple. The offensive ones was the one I did for Predator was heaps more work and took me much longer. It kind of took me by surprise. So yes, but I want to do more of them because it is fun. One of the ones that gets requested a lot is doing the Endor, not the Battle of Endor itself, but like the raid on the shield generator of Endor, which I think I could have a lot of fun with, replacing the rebels with a current military raid force, or potentially replacing the Empire defenders, but then I'd be turning it into an offensive one. So that's not what defensive one. So that's not what I'm talking about now. So I'm going to shut up and change slides because everyone's been staring at Lucas Kokov's slide for the last 10 minutes. Moving on. Jacob Tampa, 2817 says, lifetime civilian here. So can I ask, should the outpost be in the valley? Would it make more sense to put it up on top of the canyon wall? Yes, I think in short, yes, that would make more sense. Again, knowing what we know from the film. With that being said, there might be reasons they put it in at the end of a canyon that we don't know about, that aren't shown in the 2-hour runtime of the movie. Maybe there was a strategic advantage to putting it there, but with that being said, we know that they consistently make poor strategic decisions. That is the mobile infantry, so it's just as likely that it was simply cooked and put in a bad position. Yes, it would make more sense to put it on top of the canyon wall, and I would also suggest to put it further away, as in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, maybe a kilometer or further from the canyons. I presume that they need to access the canyons, the mobile infantry, that is, to destroy the bugs if they want to do dismounted operations. But they're also resupplied almost exclusively by air, from what I can tell. As in, they have a little base and then they get drop ships, or they get landing barges or whatever, and that's how they get resupplied. That's how they ferry troops to and from the fleet in orbit to the ground. So if you're doing that, then you logically don't need roads, and you don't need secured or protected ground avenues of approaches. You don't have to worry about your convoy being ambushed by the Arachnid Taliban on the way to your outpost. So if you're being exclusively resupplied by air and reinforced and extracted by air, then yeah, you could have the outpost in the middle of the desert, probably like a K back from the edge of the canyons, and then simply deploy from the outpost into wherever it is you need to go. But there's a lot of assumptions I'm making here. Maybe the ground on top of the desert is too soft for the outpost. Maybe it's so soft that the bugs can just have freedom of movement and they can dig and burrow and emerge anywhere they want. Maybe they did put the outpost in the canyons because the ground is harder there and it is really difficult for the bugs to burrow. Like maybe them burrowing into the outpost was, a massive effort, and they'd been doing that for days or weeks, who knows. So yes, at a glance, it would make more sense to have the outpost further away from the valleys. And then also you have more lines of sight, and you have far more distance where you can degrade the enemy before they even get close to your walls. So that was one of the other issues with the placement of these outposts, which I kind of spoke to in the battle plan, is that they don't have a whole lot of a range or depth in terms of distance from them to the enemy. If you look at the map, you can just see in the background there, then it was only about, and I know bloody Jacob's comments in the way, but it was only about 300 meters from the outpost wall to those choke points into the valley, which when you have weapons that can fire out to 5,000 meters, doesn't make much in your mortars. It doesn't make much sense. And similarly with your 50 cals, which can fire out to 3,000 meters harassingly. You would want larger lines of sight and larger distances so you could get depth and offset from your enemy horde. But again, assumption there being that they are just going to come charging at you because they can't dig. If they can dig, then maybe there's a reason the outpost was in the canyon. Get what I mean? Okay. Another one here. What do we got? Norian Arjuna. Again, the USCMC is Land Warrior on crack, at least according to the technical manual. The Professor, USMC Combat Engineer. We touch one squad per infantry company. We do the deployment workups with them. Sorry, you guys are having they're bloody having a yarn in the chat. That's sick. I've just walked into a conversation and now I'm like, what's going on? Because I'm missing context here. All right, let me scroll back up. Look for a question because the boys are bloody arguing. They're arguing in chat. Well, not arguing, but they're having a robust conversation. Okay, here's one. In battle, there is no law. Says, would you ever do the Alien franchise, i.e. Colonial Marines and LV-426? Yes, like I mentioned before, because that is a popular request. The challenge there is presenting it visually. How do I present that to you on a flat 2D screen? Noting that they go underground under the atmosphere generator. And, you know, they're going down multiple levels. It's very difficult to present visually. So once I overcome that challenge, I will do it. Sorry, here we go. George Jackson, thank you for the New Zealand $5. You are a good man. Says, if you wanted to add something 3D to your videos, you could use Arma 3. It has a bunch of mods that cover Star Wars, Halo, 40k, pretty much anything. Yeah, I'm not against that. I just don't know how. I suppose, I don't know, do you use bots? Could I have 20 million bot bugs charging and then shoot them FPS? I'm not against branching out into other ways of making the animations. It's just I'm sticking with what I know because it's all I know at the time. You know what I mean? Like I could learn something else and it would probably add a big delay between videos, of which the delay is already huge. But yeah, I'm not against having a crack at Arma or since Squad has some mods as well. I think I was looking into Squad mods that I could maybe use for the Back in the Helm's Deep one, but I ended up just settling on doing it kind of the way I did, which is just a 2D top-down animation. Okay, another bloody dono. Buxom Badger. Jesus, thank you, mate. 19 schmackos. US schmackos. That's big money. That's a bloody family pizza. Actually, that's multiple family pizzas. Right of the Rohirrim with modern US cavalry, but they don't get the army of the dead. They need to win. Maybe have the Brits or Aussies be holding Minas Tirith so they can sally out to support just with light-skinned vehicles. Yeah, Minas Tirith, another hotly requested one. I'm still haven't. It will be done, of course. I haven't decided when. Like I was talking about, I'm trying to do defensive, offensive, like that. So I'll probably do another offensive one next. But the thing with Minas Tirith is I haven't. Because I've juggled with it a few times. How do I break that up? I'm not sure if I do Siege of Osgiliath first, a defensive one, and then I do Siege of Minas Tirith as a separate video, and then I do the counterattack Right of the Rohirrim, which I believe is Battle of Pelennor Fields, as a third video. Or do I do Siege of Minas Tirith and Battle of Pelennor Fields all in the same video, and then involve modern cavalry and have tanks coming through and bloody smashing the Nazgul, that sort of stuff. So there's a few good ideas here. I haven't quite decided on which one I'm going to go with yet. Lex says, "Don't interrupt us with your live stream. We're trying to fight here." Yeah, sorry boys. I'll let everyone keep arguing in the comments. I'll just shut up and read everyone fighting. Okay, another dono here. Much appreciated. Marty McFeels. Donos US $4.99. Love this series, always really fun to watch. Would love to see more Star Wars, maybe Endor. Thank you, mate, much appreciated. Yes, one day I think I'll do Endor, like I was saying. It would be a fun offensive scenario, I think I will do. Okay, let's move on, next slide. Torgova L1N says, if 200 Marines, which you admit is 7x what was in the film, were given a week to prepare for 2,000 dumb assaulting bugs, could they defeat them? Of course they could. So a bit of bloody shade here. There's people always saying mean stuff in the comments, or just like pretty much tearing apart the whole premise and tearing apart the everything I bloody do, really. But yeah, so this is obviously a bit of snark, but that's cool because it gives me a chance to point out here that, yeah, it's not what I'm going for. It's not like, and again, I tried to make pains of explaining this in this video. It's not could they defeat them. What I'm trying to show here is how they would defeat them, and I'm hoping someone finds that how, or you guys, I mean, find that how interesting, as in the EA development and defensive stuff, and just the things that I used to do in the army that was, work, or everyone used to do in the army, infantry in particular. That's what's interesting to me, and that's what I'm going for here. So yeah, it's not like would 200 Marines with weeks of preparation and 1 million rounds and F-35s defeat the bugs. Like, yeah, of course. I'm trying to show how, like, in a nitty-gritty level of detail, I think how they would do that, or how I would do that, like as a former military man guy, because that's what's interesting to me. So yeah, I know this is just like this dude just poo-pooing me. It's not like a genuine a question, but I thought I'd take the chance to kind of speak to that anyway, because that's what I'm going for. Get what I mean? Moving on. This is an interesting point which came up a few times, and it's a fair point. Matthew Harrison 3813 says, by showing how effective Earth forces could be, the brain bug gets far more useful intelligence on our capabilities. Whilst this would provide a tactical victory, it may be a strategic error. Sending in poorly trained roughnecks allow the presence of the brain bug to be determined without giving away too much information. Okay, that's a stretch. Great video, I had fun watching it. Thank you, Matthew Harrison. Yeah, it's a fair point. And there are a few other savvy chaps making this comment as well, that by lodging a successful defense, that the brain bug then gets more intelligence on what it is we're doing and how we lodge a defense in depth, or a static defense, sorry, and how we employ our weapon systems. He pretty much gets more information on everything, which is absolutely true. Yeah, you're right. There's no way to get around that. He will get information on what we did, how we did it, and then can potentially adapt to that in future. The two parts of that is the grounded part. Like if I answer this literally, I guess it's like, yes, but so will we. So we will then have to adapt in future as well, and this cycle will constantly evolve. So yeah, maybe next time he knows that we engage with machine guns from max range. So he sends the tankers in as shields from the start, or they don't even do that. They burrow from the start. But then, hey, guess what? We know now that they like to lead their assault with 5 tankers burrowing. So we don't even use outposts anymore. We use our hover barges. Or we lay a slab of 5-foot reinforced concrete with rebar on top of, or underneath all our bases, so they can't even burrow through. And so that's kind of the in-universe answer is like, well, okay, they adapt, so will we. We're obviously going to do things better. And secondly to that is that, I'm planning this. The less grounded answer is that I don't want my men to die, because generally when you're in a real military and you send people on missions, you try and have some of them live, because that's how you hopefully win the mission. So yeah, I know in the film, obviously this what do you call it? It's like a fascist regime, and their military are just expendable cannon fodder. And so them sending in the Roughnecks to get wiped out just so they can confirm the presence of the brain bug. Yeah, I get that. I understand that's what was happening in the film. But for the most part, in modern real militaries, we like our people not to die and take steps to ensure that happens. So yeah, I'm making this video as if, like, from the frame of reference that I'm company commander man, and what I care about is the mission, which is defending the outpost. Retain, I think was the key word, was the task verb I used, and also making sure my dudes don't die. So I'm going to plan for that, if that makes sense. But your comment is still absolutely valid, and yeah, doing a more apt defense would grant the brain bug that information that they could use against us. Okay, I'll read a few comments here and then I'll skip to the next one. Bloody hell, you blokes still fighting in the chat. Calm down, don't murder each other. Be friends. Okay. Let me scroll down. Joel Dalton, I don't know why people get so butthurt by a thought experiment. Yeah, there's a few some people get a bit bloody stroppy in the comments. But it's what to do, mate. There's passionate fans of passionate franchises. So, what to do. I'm never going to make anyone happy. So just kind of got to roll with it. You get what I mean? Okay. Wouldn't wouldn't a modern Super Luigi 6968, wouldn't, I don't know, there was a question here, so it caught my attention. Wouldn't a modern what if of the Battle of Minas Tirith necessarily revise the Battle of Pelennor Fields unless it was part 1 and 2? I don't see how they could be isolated from each other. Very good point. Yeah, you're right. I would suppose that if we were successful in the siege of Minas Tirith, then the Battle of Pelennor Fields might necessarily not need to occur. So, yeah, fair point. Yeah, something I'll need to think about, I suppose. Okay, next slide. Hi. Next slide I'm looking at on the screen, which you should see as well. And I keep saying this because I don't know if you're seeing what I see because there's a delay in the stream. Tulen Henke says, the lack of sights on the Mortar could also be explained by a doctrine, since they are fighting an enemy that almost solely engages as a melee swarm. The troopers are trained to fight more akin to Napoleonic rather than modern infantry, ideally having a deep gun line that can saturate the area in front of them with fire. It doesn't work here in the Outpost due to too many reasons to speak in the video, but I think that's what they're meant to do in universe. I wanted to speak about this one because it's a chance to speak about the rifles, the Mortars. So the Mortars, the reason they didn't have sights in the film, it was purely a filming thing. There are lots of in-universe reasons we could create, but the reference and source for that was IMFDB, which is Internet Movie Firearms Database, which I encourage everyone to go and check out because it is sick. It's probably the best way to increase your individual firearms and small arms ID skills. Because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I watch a new movie, and if there's a bloody gun in it that I don't recognize, the first thing I do is go and jump on IMFDB and see if anyone's pointed out what it is yet. So IMFDB is a great website, and over the years it's sort of been legitimized in that lots of people from the movie industry are involved in it as well. And on the Starship Troopers entry page on IMFDB, they have a citation from the armorer guy who worked on the film, and he pretty much said that the Mortar rifles were meant to have sights built into the carry handle, and they were also meant to have I believe, LED ammo counter, much like the pulse rifles from Alien lore, of course. But due to, I believe, time and budgetary constraints, they simply did not get around to doing it, so they did not get them. So that is the why. That's the only reason there's no sights on the guns in the film. With that being said, even if they did have sights and the ammo counters on the film, it probably wouldn't have changed the behavior of the MI as we see them anyway. They probably would have done exactly as we saw, shoot from the hip, fire unaimed, because, you know, actors, and I doubt they went through a rigorous 4-week boot camp like, you know, the actors in Black Hawk Down or Platoon or whatever did. So it probably would have been seen like that. But to your point, yeah, there's, if we put that aside, so pretend I'm a big fat dumb idiot and everything I said is wrong, or that didn't happen about the real world reason. I think you make a fair point that, yeah, they do utilize bizarre infantry tactics for specifically a future, presumably modern society or modern civilization. And yeah, they are using like Napoleonic skirmish lines to fight a highly maneuverable and highly mobile dismounted threat. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So yeah, your in-universe reason here, I think links in, or could link in with what I was suggesting, with that, like, where I quipped in my video, that is that, like, you know, maybe they don't give them sights because they know all their people don't get enough training and they're all trash and they're not even going to know how to use the sights even if they had them, so they don't bother giving them. Or maybe it's a matter of they've just realized that all their people are trash. The reason all their people are trash and can't shoot is because they've got no sights on their guns, and just no one ever thought to fix this problem, like a chicken and the egg or self-eating snake type dilemma. So yeah, putting aside the real world reason, which is the budgets of a cinema Hollywood production, yeah, your reason here could, I think, link with what I was saying in the video as well. Okay, next comment comes from Mick. That's Mick with like 10 eyes in it, for anyone just listening to this, not watching. What if the initial assault was all 5 tankers submerged, rising up under the compound at the same time, with a swarm rushing forwards as soon as they'd breached? It would all be over. Yes, there's not much in the way of contingencies you can do for this. If this was the plan you were working against countering, which I was not, then you'd probably have to sacrifice some of your direct fire weapons and set up, again, a very loose loose as in it's sketchy plan where you have some of your heavy machine guns inside the compound, facing across the pretty much surface of the compound, ready to just smash anything that comes out. And hopefully, you know, you'd have to get some gun stakes in and some traverse bars and elevation bars to stop them going up, down, left, right, and mowing down your own people on the walls. And having very tight, you'd call it fixed limits traverse, like where you have a machine gun that can move left and right, but then it hits like a literal traverse stop, so a stake in the ground or either your tripod mechanism to prevent fratricide, prevent you shooting your own people. That is probably the only way you could get around that. But again, this is one of those things, and this is the theme of, this is going to happen every video, and this is a comment that comes up in various formats, but it's, oh, but you changed the plan, but they didn't change the plan. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going for here, because think of it like this. I'm doing kind of like an AAR or a debrief on the battle that we saw from the film. And then I think about it and I say, how could we do that differently and better? And then I go back and I plan for that contingency. And that's what you do in the military. You review from an exercise you've done or an operation or whatever, and you sit down and you have an AAR and you ask yourself, what sucked and how do we fix it? What did we do good? And how do we keep it? There's different terminology. It's improves, fixes, and sustains. That's the classic Australian Army bloody debrief formula for an after-action review, for, say, an exercise or something like this. So I'm looking at the Starship Troopers battle, and I say, this is what happened. I want to go back in and do it over and fix it. So when you're doing this, if you then also completely change the enemy behavior, then you would then have to also completely change your behavior and your plan. You would then have to go back and change the enemy behavior again. And then you would adapt your behavior or your plan again. So you see what I mean? It creates this never-ending loop where eventually you simply can't imagine the unimaginable any longer. And it's not grounded in what you initially set out to fix, the initial battle. It's now just a completely different, it's morphed beyond what you're trying to do. Does that make sense? And that's like this is kind of a conversation I'm going to have to keep having as we go on through these video series, which is no problem. I don't mind it. I get it. But does that make sense to the dudes here in the chat listening live? You get what I mean? Like, you could infinitely adapt the enemy course of action and then the friendly course of action and then the enemy course of action. So in this case here, in this example, what if there were all 5 tankers submerged, rising up under the compound at the same time with the swarm rushing forward as soon as they breach? Okay, what if the compound has 10 foot of reinforced concrete rebar underneath and the bugs attempt to emerge, and then as they hit the underside of the rebar, it's been laced with seismic sensors and anti-tank mines that immediately blow up the tanker bugs? You get what I mean? Like, so at this point, we're kind of wargaming. You're doing like, oh, I do this. I send 5 tanker bugs tunneling. And I say, okay, cool. I'm going to have a better outpost that's made of better material, and I'm going to have anti-tank mines buried there. And then you say, okay, well, cool. I'm going to send my hoppers. And you see, it's like it never ends. And that's not what I'm going for here. I'm going for a debrief or a redo of the enemy actions as we saw them in the source material, in this case being the Starship Troopers film. And I'm effectively debriefing it, AARing it and going, how could we do this differently? And I want to change the force as well, because that's fun. That's the fun part of it. And you can't just simply keep adapting over, or you're not doing the original thing you set out to do. I hope that makes sense. Let's read some comments. Okay. Oh my god, the bloody boys in the chat are going nuts. It's getting heated. Nah, they're not. Be bloody good. Be good boys to each other. Bird Monster says the Maritas, while Chad bullpups, are really bloody long for bullpups. Yeah, they are. They must be hissing hot muzzle velocity. It's at least got to be 20-inch barrel. It's definitely longer than a bloody F88 barrel. So at least. Lex says, going on the IMFDB page for heat, brackets 1995, just to feel something real, as the Zoomers say. Yeah, the IMFDB page for heat is incredible. There is a good video, older video now. James Reeve of TFB TV, he does a really cool video on the guns of heat. He does both the pistols and the rifles, I think. Those are worth checking out on the tube as well. But yeah, the IMFDB page for heat is sick. And IMFDB is probably sort of tangent here. It's the best place to learn about ARs because, well, you know, obviously Australian military like us, like myself, we didn't have ARs in the conventional side of the military. Like our special operations guys, they obviously use M4s. But it's only once you start getting into IMDb that you're like, everything that looks like an M4 in a film is never an M4. It's some other thing. So yeah, IMFDB is eye-opening on just how many AR-15 variants there are, and even just in films alone. Joel Dalton says, I don't think chat is heated, just robust. I agree, mate. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm winding you guys up. You guys are winding each other up, and I'm stirring the pot even more. Okay, back to the slide deck, and I'm going to slide along now. This is kind of following on to the last one. I feel I might have waffled to this already, so maybe don't need to speak about it too much. But 2 comments here. One from Chris Boland, 5634, who says, I'd like you to do a follow-up with the Marines in the original situation with 3 minutes warning. That's kind of the point of doing a video like this. Chris, I respectfully disagree. That's not the point of a video like this. The point of what I'm doing is to make a strategy that is a winning strategy. As I've said every time, I kind of put my mind in the place that if I'm doing this and I had to be there and fight this fight, how would I plan it to win? Because if everyone dies, it seems to look like you've lost. So I also mentioned this in the video. If you put the Marines in there with the same force composition, that is 30 Marines and the same 3 minutes warning, it pretty much goes down the same way as the film. And I didn't try hide that fact. There's simply too many bugs, and the Marines, like the Roughnecks, don't have enough firepower at that point to lodge an effective defense. So I don't think that's a good video. Chrissy boy, you might disagree, mate, but I don't think that's entertaining viewing, and I don't think you really take much away from it. The second one here is similarly themed, but different phrased. David Johnson 3913 says, battle's cool, but for comparison, I think you should have kept the size of the engagement the same, with just 50 Marines or so versus the bugs. Adding all the extra sections to the Marines guarantees they will have a better result and begs the question of what would happen if the Roughnecks had equal support. Like a second MI platoon that dropped off the cliffs, blah, 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 blah. Similar answer to this, as I've got to David, is in that if I'd given them 30 Marines, I think the battle would have gone exactly the same as it did in the film. The Marines would be rapidly overwhelmed and immediately have to withdraw. And yeah, again, I'm not sure why I would make that video. That doesn't sound fun to me. It's not, I haven't done anything different from what we've already seen in the movie. I've simply like reskinned the characters. Does that make sense? Like I turned them from MIs into Marines, and then we see the exact same thing. The bugs rapidly stack up against the sides, climb the walls, jump over, breach through the center. No one can counter the breach, and then they have to extract by Osprey V22 instead of a dropship. So it's not, 2 reasons why, no, I don't want to do what these guys are suggesting. One, it's not interesting to me. Secondly, I'm very explicitly setting these, or choosing these force compositions to win the battle. So I am trying to keep it the smallest force composition needed to win the battle, because obviously I could just utterly take the piss and say the Marines have a battalion in there and they've got five M1 Abrams fucking divisions, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm trying to pick the smallest force composition that I think could realistically win the battle or get the job done. So yeah, that's the point of the videos. That's what I'm going for here, just to clear that up. And like I say, every live stream, that's probably going to keep being a theme moving forward, but it's okay. I'll keep trying to emphasize what it is I'm going for here. But I hope that makes sense to everyone here. Potato Face 565 says, me versus your mother. Oh my goodness gracious me. I'm just going to move on. Next slide. 50 Stone. And this is similar to the comment that was on the previous slide. Could 210 Roughnecks have been victorious if also properly equipped? I think yes, I think they could have. If you took the same number of Marines which I used, which ended up being 210, and replaced them with Roughnecks, I think they probably could have got the win. But that is, I would base that on a big assumption then, that roughneck element of that size would also be employing their HE systems much like the Marines did. Because I think without their HE, then it's probably pretty tricky, especially noting that the Roughnecks, there's no real evidence aside from the fixed tower-mounted guns that they have support weapons. And by that I mean belt-fed machine guns, or even if they're not belt-fed machine guns, right, they're in the future, a weapon system that is capable of outputting sustained, rapid, and we'll say, I'm not sure heavy caliber, because maybe they have lasers, heavy firepower, even though I despise the term, high fire. Does that make sense? So I think yes, with asterisks of if they had their associated assets from an element that size. So if we're going to say that's a super company of Roughnecks, then yeah, they can win if they actually use their mini nukes. Because like I pointed out in the video, there's a shot, a couple of frames actually, of when they first walk into the outpost, Buggerlugs has got his mini nuke slung over his shoulder, and the other dude's carrying the briefcase like it's the fucking nuclear football for the president that's got the mini nuke warhead inside it. Would have been pretty fucking handy to use that in the battle before you get overrun, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, they don't use it. So to answer your question short, yes, I think they can win if they leveraged their heavy weapon systems and conducted some semblance of static defense, like was shown by the Marines. Okay, quick check of a comment. What are you guys talking about? I don't understand. The 571 aimbotting with 416 Barretts. Oh, now, Aiden Funets. Sorry if I'm butchering your name there, bloody Aiden. Oh, now that's a thought. The assault on Skynet forces or HQ, such as from the game Resistance, or just what it takes to kill a Terminator in a civilian city. Yeah, that's a fun one. Someone I think mentioned in the comment section of this video, or maybe one of the previous ones, to do like LAPD versus a Terminator, which I think is fun. But yeah, I'd like to mess with Terminator franchise at some point, because I also like Terminator 2 very, 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 very much. Terrific film. Okay. Hang on. What? So I scan the chat with my eyes real quick, and if something jumps out at me, then that's like when I'll block in on it, and and give it a go. You're in a coma says Siege of Hogwarts, but it's QPS, that's Queensland Police Service, I assume, defending, and Peter Dutton replaces Voldemort. Oh my god. You're trying to get raided there, big dog. The bloody E-Safety Commissioner's going to have your guts for garters if you keep this banter up on the internet. Holy goodness. Let's move on. Next slide. Freezer Boy says, "Rip Dizzy, she was so fine." Yep. Rest in peace, Dina Myers. Well, not Dina Myers, she's not dead, but the character of Dizzy. And this is one of those things that, like, growing up as a bloody man is realizing that Dizzy was superior to Carmen in almost every single way. Next one. Comment from Anime Lover 0048. I absolutely love the way your entire video is set up and everything laid out. Excellently done. That said, the way the mobile infantry is presented in the movies, I can't speak, stop stuttering, is presented in the movies is that they're basically shock troops. They're leftovers who can't seem to do anything else, poorly equipped and with as little training as possible, and thus are the first to be expended. But trying to out-body count an opponent has never really worked well against other humans, as far as I know anyway. I'm just staring at this now and trying to wonder what I wanted to say about it, because usually when I screenshot these questions or these comments because I'm like, oh, I have a comment myself to say to that, but now I'm looking at this and I can't really just think of anything new. A couple of things. Clarity on terminology. I personally, I haven't done any bloody research on this, but when I hear shock troops, I don't associate shock troops with amateur troops or not trained troops. I think historically shock troops, using this word, which is, it's colloquialism, right? Like, you're not going to find the word shock troops in any Australian Army doctrine. it's shock troops to me speaks more like to an elite formation. So I don't think shock troops is a fitting phrase for the mobile infantry, and kind of calling them at the same time saying they're leftovers or saying they're poorly equipped and they're little as training as possible and shock troops. I think those kind of contradict themselves. So sorry, I'm not trying to tear apart. I'm not trying to be like heaps pedantic here. It just kind of jumped out at me. Calling them, they can't be both like poorly trained conscripts, nationalized, just off the street military, and shock troops. Does that make sense? Personally, anyway, as I opine. And is thus the first to be expended out of body count. I'm just gonna, sorry, anime lover 0048. I can't remember what I wanted to say about your comment, so I just ended up kind of getting heaps nitpicky about your phrasing. I think I wanted to speak to kind of just the Roughnecks or the MI. Yeah, they're pretty much a nationalized force in that the volunteers, because obviously not everyone has to be in the military, but I still think that it implies that their training is pretty rushed and they're trying to race them off to get into battle around the globe. So yeah, they're like national service volunteers would be the way I kind of look at them. I'm just going to shut up and move on after I read a comment. Taylor Clem's biggest fan. Shock troops were German highly trained troops. See, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it out of fear of misspeaking. But yeah, I was under the impression that the origin of the term shock troops, someone Google this hella quick, was World War I, like trench raiders. Those dudes who used to have like, you know, just like pistols tucked in their belts, and they had like what do you call it, melee weapons and all that hectic stuff. I thought that was kind of the origin of shock troops in contemporary sense anyway. Okay. Moving on. Next comment comes from Nab, AAB, that is, 007 skits. As a mortarman, I'd say you're very optimistic with the HE kill counts. Mortars kill with shrapnel, humans bleed to death fairly easily, bugs don't. You need to effectively target the brainstem to put a bug down. Shrapnel goes wherever it goes and is highly unreliable at targeting specific spots. I'll take this criticism on the chin. I think it's a fair point. In my video, I think I said that in my breakdown there with all the ammo, so that part where I get heaps autistic about the round counts and the fire rates and all that sort of stuff, I believe I said average kills per round for an 81mm mortar bomb would have been 6, which, yeah, in hindsight and seeing your comment, I'll probably concede and agree with you that that might be a bit optimistic. For the reasons you said, we have to get the brainstem, and we're kind of hoping that fragmentation smashes the brainstem, which I think can be. I think once you probably get savvy at it, I think you can smash the brainstem with small arms fire or be accurate and hit it well. And I cite the films later, or the last act of the film, when they're smashing like dozens of bugs, just the 4 of them, that fire team. Presumably because at this point they know how to aim to shoot the bugs. But as you point out, shrapnel goes, or fragmentation goes wherever it wants. So it is a fair critique, and I'll take it. Probably in hindsight, 6 kills per mortar bomb for the bugs is probably too high. With that being said, you can quickly just see the alternatives here. Like if I'd change that number, so if I had say 3 kills per round for a mortar bomb, we're still killing 1,200 bugs with the mortar rounds we had available. And similarly, if I'd said 2 dead bugs per mortar bomb, 800 total dead bugs. So yeah, you're right. I'm not like disputing your point. I agree 6 is too high. But with that being said, the mortars, even with lower kills per bomb, would still be getting some great damage done in terms of thinning out the herd and attriting the arachnid swarm, particularly at those very clustered up spots to the rear of the choke points. And also with that being said, even if we're not achieving lethal casualties with the mortars, I am still picturing that the mortars, even if we have a zero kill per round bombs, which is probably likely in all fairness, as in you drop a mortar bomb in the cluster of one of these bugs and there's 0 lethal casualties, I still think it's a fair comment to say that there's going to be many non-lethal casualties. And what that looks like, I would imagine, is there's heaps of legless or limbless or just generally fucked up bugs from the mortar fragmentation that are less effective in the fight. Yes, we know that you can blow off a limb and bugs will still remain 86% combat effective. Here's a tip, aim for the nerve stem. Thanks, Doogie Howser, who went on to become old mate from How I Met Your Mother. So yeah, I'm picturing that even if it is not lethal casualties from the mortar bombs, I'm picturing, you know, like in Call of Duty Zombies, before you go on to the next round, you always leave those little ones crawling around, like there's zombies that have been chopped off at the waist, and then they're crawling around hella slow, and you love that because it's heaps easy to shoot them because they can't move fast. So same thing here, I'm picturing, even if we're not getting lots of lethal casualties from the mortars, I still think the servicing the fire plan overall in the non-lethal casualties they're creating, which can then be easily engaged by accurate rifle fire. So yeah, you are correct. I think 6, I agree and concede that 6 is probably too optimistic. But I still think yeah, what's the alternative? Like, you don't use mortars. Like, of course we're still using mortars, but I still think they'd be doing some hella good damage. Okay. Question. Static noise, even taking a couple of legs off a bug would make it easier for a follow-up from a rifle. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I agree. That's the point. I don't know if you can see this. With regards to, it just popped up as the most recent comment, so I did see it. With regards to wounded and panicking arachnids doing blue on blue. I don't know if you can see this. With regards to WRT, wounded and panicking arachnids doing blue on blue as they thrash. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Are they that strong? I don't think so. I don't think that'd be not enough that you could plan for and account for anyway. Like, yeah, it might happen, but it's certainly not something you'd be like, well, if we've got wounded arachnids, we can assume they're going to kill one arachnid while they're thrashing, and you wouldn't make any account for this. But yeah, it's certainly plausible, I guess. Okay, back to the PowerPoint slide deck. What time am I at here? An hour 11. Okay, I'm just going to try and go for an hour 30, boys. That's my hard limit. Soz. Comment comes from Bass Door Stew. Enjoyed the video. 1724. There are 2 fundamental ways. Not there is 1745. There are ultimately too many bugs. Not there is conjugation. My good. So it pretty much just cooks me for my poor grammar, which is fair. And I just wanted to put this in because I do make mistakes. It's bloody annoying. And believe me, when there's if I have like spoken errors in the audio, in the narration, or if there's spelling errors on screen, no one is more bothered than me. Trust. So yeah, I just put this up to kind of acknowledge that, yeah, man, I goof it from time to time. Not the first time, won't be the last. But yeah, it does bother me when I make these mistakes. So I'm trying to not make these mistakes and give like quality and accurate me speaking good England in videos on narration and also on spelling mistakes. The Star Wars video actually had a few on-screen spelling errors, which really pissed me off when I saw that later on. So yeah, yeah, fair call out. I goof up spelling and speaking sometimes. But yeah, I'm not like, oh yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. No, I think it does matter, and it does piss me off because I don't like making these mistakes. So fair chop, and I'll cop it on the chin. Unlucky Gunner, why do you hate us? I don't hate you. Why do you say I hate you? What's wrong? What happened? What's going on in the chat? Yeah, it's hectic today. It's going skits, and I'm bloody. Every time I go back to read a question, they're going to war. They're going off like a Roman candle. Okay, moving on. Next slide. This dude's name, Custodial Father in Texas, 9362. It's 7.62 by 51 NATO that is used in the Mortar, not 5.56. That's the M14 caliber, which is 30 caliber. Essentially, he goes on to make some distinctions about 7.62 and 5.56. Oh, sorry, one more. I'll read his other piece. I'd like to imagine that they're not actually using a propellant, but some sort of magnetic accelerator, but that doesn't explain the expanded brass casing. Yeah, I agree with this statement you've made just here, Custodial Father in Texas, 9362. But, and yeah, I'll admit that some of the online sources, they say that the Mortar is 7.62. So I think if you look up whatever the Starship Troopers version of Wikipedia is, like the Starship Troopers wiki, they list the Mortar as 7.62 millimeter. I didn't cite it as 7.62 millimeter because, like I said in the video, I exclusively, for the most part, reference the film as the reference material. And that was kind of to prevent the slippery slope of getting into numerous conflicting sources, right? And in the film, we know for a fact that they're using the Ruger AC556 in full auto in a, I think, muzzle-light bullpup conversion kit, and, you know, some aesthetic, whatever it's made of, composite, what's the plastic they use to make these sort of prop guns around it. And in the film, we see numerous close-ups of these guns firing, and they make like a pointed effort to have these held shots of the weapons moving past cycling, and we see and know that they are 5.56 millimeter weapons, and I can't like unsee that or ignore that from my brain. You get what I mean? So yeah, in the film, like I know they're shooting 5.56 because they're shooting 5.56. And yeah, this is where you could be like, yeah, well, yeah, but they're not actually Rugers, they're Moritas. And it's like, this is one of those tricky parts where it's like, where do I suspend my disbelief and where do I accept the reality of the film and the reality that what I'm looking at is not real, and then go for the story, right? But yeah, that's my reason. You could probably flip a coin on that. You could go either way. I'm not like I'm not going to die on this hill, but I'm just explaining that why I went with 5.56 is that's the reason. That we know that they're using projectile weapons that fire cased ammunition. The cases eject. They're shown very clearly and explicitly ejecting in the film. Like, they don't make an effort to hide the fact that it's, you know, a cased current, our timeline of humanity weapon system. That if they wanted to have them be futuristic laser weapons, they wouldn't show that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a fair point. And this comment too, there were a few others saying, CSRC, you big, dumb and fat, it's 7.62 in the Mortar, not 5.56. And yeah, I get that the other sources, probably the comics, the game, I think as well, a few people cited the game, have it listed as 7.62, but I went with 5.56 for those reasons. That's what I'm getting at. But like I said, I'm not like bullish on that. I could go back, flip a coin, make the video with 7.62 and I wouldn't be too upset. But then conversely, I'd have a bunch of comments saying the Mortar is 5.56 because it's based on a Ruger AC556. So you get what I mean? It's like, it could go either way, but that's the reason I went with 5.56. Okay. Okay, moving on. Oh, it's the same dude. I didn't notice that. I'm dumb. He gets a bloody double tap. Custodial father in Texas again. I always assumed the mini nuke was not used because the yield is too high. If you don't have a ridge like on Clendathu or a tunnel to send it into like on Tango Urilla, essentially you would have destroyed the outpost with the bugs if they'd fired on it in the wide open area. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree because, again, in the film, when they're shown using the mini nukes at the opening scene, I think the Clendathu drop, and they take out, what am I saying? They destroy some of the plasma bugs. They're just lying like on the lip of a little earth berm. They're not even behind, I would call it, hard cover. And further to that, they're not even deep down behind the earth berm. They're like, they tuck their face down into the dirt. And this mini nuke goes off pretty much in direct line of sight. It's no more than, look, 500 meters is generous. I would say probably 300 is fair. I know the plasma bug is behind a little bit of a ridge because like its bottom half is obscured. I really should have put a screenshot up. Apologies about that, boys. But I would counter that I think they could have used the mini nukes and just launched them into the choke points. I presume they've got some sort of, if not airburst, delay detonation capability that you could have it fly past a point and then go off based on a timer or a proximity or an altitude, whatever. So yeah, I don't agree because I just think that they could have used the nukes. I would suspect that, it was simply down to like a real world budgeting issue, or hell, maybe even a narrative issue. Maybe they simply didn't use the nukes because of the reasons we're talking about. If they had, you wouldn't have a movie because they simply would have won the battle. Okay, moving on to next slide. Danny Sullivan, 633. I think Claymore mines in the choke points wouldn't be a bad idea. And there were a few comments to this speaking about mines. Claymore mines in particular in the choke points would have been a no-go because they simply wouldn't reach. So Claymore mines for the most part, and unless the Marines have vastly leveled up their kit in the last 5-10 years, which I don't think they have, well, they have in a lot of ways, but not in this way. Claymore mines are set off using a wire or a cable. I'm not a demolitions guy, and I'm not very good with the explosive stuff. Non-electet or electet? Electet? I don't know. The M57 firing device, right? You fire this thing, it goes down the cable into the M4 blasting cap assembly. You put that into the Claymore mine, the explosive, and it goes bang. You've only got about 30 meters of cable. From memory, I could be wrong. Someone fact check me. Don't get nuts, tab data, people. So yeah, you simply can't, you don't have that much cable. Claymores are like a close-in defensive weapon. Well, not explicitly defensive because you can use them for stuff like ambushes. But they're set off by a cable, and the cable is not that long. And like I think I talked about earlier, that distance is about 300 meters on the short end. So yeah, you're just not getting Claymore mines out into the choke points. That's one. I think there's another comment here where mines come up again. Yeah, here we go. I'll skip to this one because it's related. Thank God I remembered, otherwise I would have yapped ahead of schedule. No minefields to thin out the numbers. Comment on the next slide from John Foreman 6620. No, because again, to the best of my knowledge, in what is open source, the Marines at this level, as in a company of infantry Marines, do not use mines, aside from those Claymores, which we did mention and we did employ in the video, albeit for close-in defense of the compound. Because for one reason, as I've said, you've only got 30 meters of cable. Secondly, that's where they excel at. So, because there are a bunch of comments talking about minefields, and I think people are referring to literal 100-meter stretches of anti-personnel, round mines in the ground, like for bugs to step on and blow up. But the Marines don't have such a mine. To my knowledge, they have anti-tank mines that are similar like that, as in, it's the fucking mine from the movies, the ones you carry in Battlefield 4, engineer, you put it down, it looks like a big pizza, it's thick, tank drives over, it goes bang. Yeah, the Marines have those, but that's more like an engineering or a sapper kind of thing, and they wouldn't be carried by, for the most part, infantry Marines, and particularly not a company of infantry Marines. So no minefields, because one, they don't have such a thing, a victim detonated anti-personnel mine, that is one you step on and it goes bang and blows up. And secondly, they wouldn't have the anti-tank mines, which I think is what some other people are referring to, available at a Marine infantry company. Okay, comment. Soldier 333 says, I know the US Marines managed to upgrade a bit of their kit recently by getting rid of their tanks, which freed up the budget. Yeah, I don't know if the tanks part was the cause for that. I'm not saying you're wrong. But yeah, I have seen just the Marines went pretty, what do you call it? Like the individual kit got a big upgrade just in the last 5 years or so. Like it wasn't that long ago, they were still running around with their cut of helmet. I don't know what it was called, but it still had like the shape of the PASGT, the PASGT, like the old paratrooper brim style helmet. When they like leveled up from that, but then it still had the same shape. But now, from what I can see, Marines are all running around with high cut ops cores and this kind of kit, and they obviously all got the M27. So every Marine rocking a HK now is pretty skits. So yeah, it seems like their kit at the digger level, or the Marine level rather, yeah, definitely has have leveled up. Okay. LWH lightweight helmet. Thank you, Portuguese Sardine. Yeah, is that that was the one that was like visually looked like the PASGT, but was obviously upgraded in terms of ballistic performance. Nice. Mitch 2000 Supreme. Yeah, aesthetic. Cargville for sure. What's the one that's like the mid cut that was all the Cargville dudes from like late 90s, early 2000s? That was, I don't know, that's just peak. That's peak helmet aesthetic. Okay, back to the slide. Moving on. Connell Wetzker says, I wanted to argue about barbed wire's effectiveness against the movie bugs, but the qualification of obscene amounts does work. Bloody Connor here. Connell, he gets it. He gets that I can just say things, and it makes my argument impenetrable. I'm a fucking cheeky little cunt like that sometimes. Yeah, so I brought this up because wire has kind of becoming a meme ever since I used wire in Helm's Deep, and there's just there's a war zone in comment sections of people arguing about wire or calling me retarded in 50 different ways over my belief in wire. But I don't know what to tell you. Wire works, boys. It skits, and if you use it and set it up in the ways that doctrinally you're meant to, it can stop vehicles, or if not stop, neutralize vehicles. So yeah, I'm pretty confident wire is going to be effective against Uruk-hai, and with enough of it, can be pretty much effective against anything, including arachnids. So Connell's comment here made me laugh because, you know, I think it's kind of a throwback to everyone smashing me for the wire in Helm's Deep. But then, you know, he concedes that, yeah, because I'm a smart ass, and I said that, like, yeah, you'd need obscene amounts of wire, I think was my exact quote from the video, to work against the bugs. Yeah, he kind of throws that out there, which is, it's true. Like, would bugs smash through a small amount of wire? Yes, of course. With enough wire, though, would it be supremely effective at degrading or delaying their advance? Yeah, 100%. And this video, I even put in the photos. There's photos of like wire stopping tanks and AFVs. And wire does, you know, vehicles don't like driving through wire because it can choke them up as well. I know vehicles have tracks and wheels and bugs have legs. But man, I'm just telling you, like, it's not just, I don't want to do just like an appeal to authority. I've set up wire, I know how good it is, and I'm army man, so shut up, you're wrong. Like, whenever I get like a comment that's like, I feel you're overestimating wire, my brain just says like, I think you're underestimating wire. I really do. Like, if you've seen a Cat 3 setup, like properly banged in, properly anchored down, and you look at this and you're just like, that's fucked. I'm not getting through that. Like, my battalion of infantry is not getting through that. So the war of the wire, I think, is going to be an ongoing conflict for the ages in the CSRC comment sections, but I'm all here for it because I'm going to be defending wire until the end of days. And yeah, look, like, I'm not spastic about it. Like, of course, it has its limits. But, you know, in the language we're using when we're qualifying these arguments, like when I say, yes, I think wire would be effective against Uruk-hai, I think people maybe interpret that as I'm suggesting Uruk-hai going to hit wire like a wall of concrete, and then they're just going to stop in place, which is like logically, no, not what I'm suggesting. When I say like it's going to be effective, it's going to be very good at degrading their advance, slowing them down, and enhancing our obstacle plan overall by letting us then piss down that wire with machine gun fire. So yeah, just a funny one to bring up wire because it's bloody the wire war of 2025. Okay. F14D/Jared C. How do you stop something heavy? Put a bunch of shit in the way, especially if it's thin stuff that can get in the moving bits. Yeah, referring to wire against tanks. Joel Dalton, hello. Sure, wire is effective, but were the Marines deployed with it? No, they weren't. But I didn't use I didn't use the wire in the video. I had it when I did the EA development. I spoke about it, and I did like the Marines don't have wire, but if they did, this is what we would do. So no, I didn't give the Marines wire, to be clear. This defensive plan had no obstacles aside from what was provided by the natural terrain. But I still wanted to do that part anyway in the video, just to show like if we theoretically had unlimited, not unlimited, had defensive resources available, how would we stop the bugs? And that's how we would do it. But no, the Marines did not get that. Sire says, is wire also great because it slows down and can't be used as cover? Yeah, that's correct. You can shoot through wire and it's not going to destroy the obstacle. You can send fragmentation and explosives through wire and it's pretty much not going to really destroy the obstacle that much. And it affords zero cover to your assaulting adversaries. And yeah, it absolutely does slow them down or degrade or disrupt their advance. So when you have wire, I'm going to misspeak here, I know it. There's key effects you're looking for in any obstacle plan. And it depends on the amount of resources you have for the obstacle plan will pretty much depend on the level of the effect that you can do. So I think degrade is a verb, is like an effect that can be achieved with like a low amount of defensive resources. And then I think turn, which is another task verb, I believe, is turn and canalize from memory. I'm going off like ham brain memory doctrine here, so I could be wrong. Feel free to call me out. Turn and canalize, I think then you would need a medium amount of resources for, or wire. But then to do a task verb like block, which is to completely halt an enemy's advance, that then needs like an insane amount of defensive stores and resources. You get what I mean? So like all the amount of wire and resources and defensive stuff you have, they're linked to our specific defensive task verbs, which have an associated level of effect, as in with only a small amount of wire and obstacles, you can probably achieve disrupt or degrade their advance. If you have a bit more, then you can achieve a canalization, and then if you have unlimited or as much as you need, then you can block entirely an enemy advance. Bit of a tangent there, but and I might be slightly wrong on those, but yeah, feel free to correct me if correct. Moving on. Typhoon Wave, love this video. This style reminds me of Battle Order. Just wanted to put this up to give a shout out to Battle Order, a very good Instagram page, very good channel. I've briefly yarned with Battle Order a couple times on Instagram. I wouldn't say we're acquaintances. We've engaged, but yeah, he does great videos. And I take that as a compliment because he is a vastly superior editor to myself. I still have a lot of potato editing skills. If I'm making videos with this slick of editing as Battle Order one day, that would make me very, very happy. So yeah, I'll take that as a compliment, and I thank you. Comment has popped up from, comment in the chat. It's just Avi. $2. Thank you. Is that an Australian or American $2? I'm going to guess it's Australian. Any 80s movies in the pipeline? 80s movies? I don't think so. I've got a few kind of on the horizon. Look, I'll be honest, I haven't locked in what I'm going to do next. I've got kind of a short list, and on that short list, I don't think there's any 80s movies. No, the only one I can think of, which it's not next, but on the horizon, would probably, like we talked about earlier, be Terminator franchise. I think Terminator 2 was 1991 or 2, so technically not 80s, but Terminator 1 was. So I think Terminator is probably the only 80s one I can think of, mate. If you like the 80s bit, check out the video I did on Predator. I kind of speak a bit to, and the live stream on that, where I speak about the movie in terms of its own merits as a film, and being on bloody, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just gonna shut up. 80s movies. Another comment here real quick. Saint Wanasan. Saint Onisan. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Anyone shitting on CY needs to watch Justin Taylor's video on it called America's Cheapest Weapon. Goes into detail just how fucked up it is trying to get through wire fields set up by engineers. I have not seen that, and I'm not familiar with Justin Taylor. But I might check that out. That sounds fun. And especially if I can cite that, if he's got a whole video explaining how good wire is or how effective it is, that sounds like something I can definitely use. Okay, moving on. It's just Labby. Love the Predator video. Thank you. That was one of my favorites to make. It was pretty difficult, like I was saying, offensively, but I had a lot of fun making that one just because of how much I love the Predator movie as a film itself. I think walking away from editing that, I just grew more appreciation for the film Predator, and I had this mental decision where I was like, this is my favorite film of all time, without question. It's just so good, and going through it frame by frame, which I was doing for the battle scene in particular, and just delving into the lore and everything behind it for the research of the video, it's just a sick film, and I froth it. Moving on. Okay, next comment from Mats Veritas 2055. Did you take into account shock and fright? Didn't seem like it at a single point, but I take it what actually drives this home isn't the weaponry, it's the actual drugs your soldiers, inverted commas, get jacked up on. Again, it's another shade comment. I get it. This is just like a dude being a cheeky fella. But I wanted to take the point to sincerely address the point of, he calls it shock and fright. I would say, what would you call it? Battlefield fatigue, or dudes just like tapping out in the middle of combat. It's not something typically you plan for. You don't really have in this battle, I'm going to work that 5% of my guys are going to become quivering, like sobbing PTSD, Private Upham from Saving Private Ryan, cowering in the stairwell while Mellish gets stabbed to death upstairs. You don't plan for that. You simply don't count for it. Maybe in a like nationalized conscript force, or like something where there's not been as robust a training program or as experienced soldiers, it's something that high level staff officers potentially could and do plan for. I don't know, but at the level I'm doing here in these videos, which is the most part like battalion and below, you don't really have a planning figure to my knowledge. If there's any bloody ops majors ever watching this, or opsos or whatever, who want to jump in and comment, feel free to call me dumb and correct me. You don't have like a planning figure for, on this mission for our entire battalion, we're going to lose 5 dudes to psychological shock. They're going to become combat ineffective through in combat PTSD. That's not a thing you plan or account or kind of account numbers for, if that makes sense. And I'm at 1 minute, 1 hour 36, and I'm still yapping and I'm not done. I am fucked. Sorry, boys. Okay. You're in a coma says we don't talk about Upham. Yeah, Upham sucks. Upham is trash. Okay, next comment from SOIRC. 1 minute 05. You misspoke. The bugs are not hostile. They only attacked after humans started setting up bases and stealing their land. It's a pretty important plot point not to be glossed over. The human officers wearing Nazi-style uniforms. This is absolutely the opposite of what the stories are about. Sounds very passionate here, almost upset about how I've approached this video. But then there's a funny reply here from 80 Krauser, who immediately just says, found the bug posted, there is always one around. I selected this comment because, yeah, I get the lore of the film. And there's a few other comments speaking to this as well that I understand like what the film is about, and that it's like a satirical take on a fascist regime, and that it's like a parody of the military-industrial complex, and that, the nationalization of, the nationalized military is inherently evil. Like, I get it. I get all the subplots for it. And there's a few comments like, most people don't even understand the film is a satire. It's like, man, like, I think they do. Like, I don't think you're giving people enough credit. And even with that being the case, like, so what? Like, if people want to enjoy the film because it's space soldier, future army man, shooting ugly alien with gun and explosion is cool, then let them enjoy it for that reason. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I think about this. Like, yeah, I get the theme of the film. I get it's like a play on that, and that it's nothing like the book. Like I said, I have read the book. It's great. But what he did with this film, in that it's all like it's satire. Like, yeah, most people get that, but even if they don't, then who cares? If you like the film because it's a schlocky action flick, and there's co-ed showers with free boobies and, gratuitous violence and gore and gunplay, then whatever. If you like the movie for that reason, just send it, man. Like, who am I to judge? So, if you enjoy the movie for its, as SOIRC here does, for its, political takes and its commentary, its social commentary, then that's cool, man. Like, I get it. I understand that's what the film's about. But at the same time, if people just want to enjoy the film because it's like a cool action flick, which I think it is. Like, I was very young when I saw this for the first time. I'm bloody old enough that I saw it in cinemas. I certainly wasn't sitting there going like, this is an intriguing take on the geopolitical intrigue of a fascist regime, and it shows the evils and downsides of how military control over the citizenship can lead to the detriment of society. Like, that's not what I'm thinking when I'm, however old I was, 15, watching this in bloody Hoyts. I'm sat there going, this is sick. Oh, look, guns kill bugs and boobies in the shower. That was unexpected. Like, let people enjoy movies for the reasons they enjoy the movies. Anyway, bloody rant over. Okay, we've got more comments here. Pie Time. G'day, mate. How you going? Pie Time, bloody long time member of the channel. HK10 Schmackos, thank you for the donation. What if Cyberpunk 2077's Night City on IRL Earth? I've never played Cyberpunk. I know some of the lore behind it. Had a bit of a shaky launch, as I understand. But I've never played Cyberpunk. If that is a big set-piece battle that I can represent on a map, then yeah, I would be down. Okay, another dono here. Joel Dalton. Thanks again, my friend. 5 schmackos, much appreciated. A good idea could be the Alamo with the modern infantry section. Love your work, brother. No, love you, brother. I think I've had the Alamo commented before. Someone said, I don't know why, but Rangers came up. Maybe that was you. Maybe that was your comment. Someone said to do the Alamo, but with Rangers instead of the actual defenders. I don't know that much bloody about the Battle of the Alamo. I know it's obviously etched in American folklore, but as an Australian, I'm not overly familiar with it. I'd have to look into it. I get it. It's used as like a colloquial thing because you hear it in movies all the time. It's like, oh, it's going to be like the Battle of the Alamo. But yeah, for the most part, I'm sticking away from the real battles for now, unless I can think of a tasteful way to do it. Okay, moving on because I'm trying to wrap this up because I'm bloody talking too much. Next comment, next slide. Tater Time says, I actually thought you were going to get a group together and play the Starship Troopers game as the simulation. Lol, that would have been pretty great. That would have actually been pretty sick. But speaking of, you know what else is sick? Bloody Johnny Rico himself. Boys, check this out. Have a gander at the screen right now. Stop arguing in the chat. Stop murdering each other. Look at the screen. Johnny Rico, that is General Rico to you, good sir, shared me story on Instagram, which bloody blew me skirt right up, I'll tell you that. Oh, it made me laugh. So I had a comment, a DM from this chap. Sorry, I cropped your name. Apologies for not crediting you. I had a DM from this chap because I shared a story of, shared a reel on Instagram, which is Casper Van Dien, who, to the uninitiated, is the actor who plays Johnny Rico in the film. And Casper Van Dien, Chad that he is, he streams. He's a live streamer now, like, as in he does that daily. He plays the Starship Troopers shooter game and he just pumps it. He's a gamer and he plays it with the boys. And I think that's sick. So anyway, I shared that reel and then this dude replied to it. Funny story time, I was playing this game on Xbox by myself, tired and a bit tipsy. I hear, hey, Wizard is an engineer. Some guy politely asking me to place small walls and ammo, only for me to be told it's General Rico. Man gave me the kill 'em all speech and everything. Super cool experience. Also, love the page. Thank you. I think that's so sick that like Casper Van Dien, the actor who played Johnny Rico, just live streams this. And then when he comes across fans in the game, he like gives them the speeches and the quotes. That's pretty Chadley, I think, for an actor who, you know, by all rights, he could be totally over it and like have separated himself from the franchise and like be screaming at people on the street when they go up to him and saying, hey, do the line, do the line, man, do the Buenos Aires line. So I think that's pretty sick and funny. And then, yeah, anyway, I shared this screenshot of this dude's chat message. I think words to the effect of, what did I say? Casper Van Dien certified for the boys. You can see it on the screen there. And bloody Casper Van Dien shared the screenshot. Hey, I don't get starstruck too often, but that's pretty bloody cool, don't you reckon? Huh? What do you think? I thought that was sick. I thought that was funny. Because when you get a notification on your Instagram that says, like, you know, pops down, Casper Van Dien shared yours, or like replied to your DM, you're just like, oh, what? Johnny Rico in me DMs? It's skits. Anyway, I thought that was funny. So sorry, back and forth to this comment. No, I didn't play the game for simulation, but I know someone who does. Casper bloody Van Dien. Johnny Rico. Pretty funny, huh? Moving on. Actually, I'll check a chat real quick. Boys are arguing. Portuguese Sardine. What caught my eye was Verhoeven. Verhoeven is great. That's the director. He's like the art kid who thinks he's being incisively critical but overshoots so hard he ends up making comedies that double his midwit lib filters. What else did Verhoeven do? RoboCop, I think. First RoboCop and Total Recall. And yeah, I think RoboCop, haven't seen it, it's been a while between drinks, has quite a scathing political commentary as well on policing, and I'm not sure what the underlying themes are there, but yeah. I don't think Total Recall's got too much going on in terms of political, social commentary, but you could, yeah, definitely RoboCop and Starship Troopers do. Okay, moving on. I've got to get these slides. I've got to work out how many slides I need because I'm just talking way too much trash. Okay, next comment. Sorry, boys, I'm trying to wrap this up. A Dreaming Flurry 2729 says, I have one question. So far, more might pop up. Why fire across with the HMGs? Why make the gun on the left fire on the right choke point and vice versa? Okay, long story short, here's why. Next slide you should be looking at. I'm kind of dumb. I don't know why I put it like this. I actually have the map in the background. I could have used the map. In short, if you look at this, this is why. Because if you have your heavy machine guns and they fire, obviously not in a laser, they have like a cone of fire, right? Either due to the burst, as in when you fire a burst of rounds, they don't all go in the same spot. They fire in like a cone due to like the deviation of the trajectories. Or this might also be because of the lateral traverse that you are manually doing. That is like you're aiming the gun left and right as you fire a burst. If you are doing that onto a horde of frontal approaching enemies, which these red dots here on the screen simulate, then you are not, two reasons. One, you're not engaging as many enemies per burst. And secondly, you're not achieving interlocking arcs, which then creates an enhanced kill zone or engagement area. So if I tweak this a little bit, you know what? Let me just bloody, can I fuck with this? Let's do this. What can you see? Oh, you dog. Let me go back to that slide. Can everyone see this? If you rotate this guy like this, so he is shooting inwards, and samey with this guy, so he's shooting across, and then you logically extend them because that's what we're going to be going for here. Need to rotate him a bit more. Thank you, PowerPoint. And then because it is longer, we're going to expand the bloody cone. We're going to expand the bloody cone. Oh, you shuddermutter. You get what we call interlocking fields of fire, right? So now you can see we're engaging opacity, opacity, opacity. I can't be fucked. I was going to change the opacity. You can see now we're engaging more dots per burst, and also we have created a tight kill zone in the middle. And this is what you would call oblique fire, as in we're shooting our machine guns at an oblique angle onto the front of the approaching enemy, thereby destroying more enemy per burst and targeting more of the enemy depth per burst. Whereas if you have frontal fire that is not enfilade, and then you're not getting as many enemy per burst. That's the simple answer to this question. Does that make sense? So I'll go back to big view now so you can see the whole screen. So that's pretty much why. It gets you more enemy killed per burst. It tightens up your engagement area or your killing zone. So you have a focus point where fire is coming from multiple directions. And it inherently just destroys more enemy. So yeah, that's why. Moving on. Reading a question really quick. Okay, something's popped up. It's big and it's blue. It's a dono. Thank you. That rhymes. Pie time. HK $10. Bloody pie time. You're my biggest fan. Love you. What if is that HL2? Half-Life 2? HL2? I don't know. Half-Life 2 Super Earth met ST Terran Foundation. Not Star Trek. Is that Star Trek? Or StarCraft? Star Trek's Terran Foundation. Not too familiar with Star Trek as a franchise. And I'm not sure what HL2 Super Earth is either. I will confess. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, bruv. One more comment here. Bird Monster says, policing and corporate shit is RoboCop. Yes, that's right. Privatization of the police force and like the evils of corporations was, yeah, you're right. That was the other themes behind RoboCop. Okay, I'm going to move on here, boys. Sorry, I'm trying to wrap this up. Next comment on the screen. Everyone should be looking at a slide with a question by Andrew S. Fairang 8NG. Ammo and weapons can be configured to defeat the expected enemy. Why bring so many anti-tank weapons? Are they needed? Then load up on HE. No large numbers to blow up with blast weapons. More direct fire anti-infantry weapons. Don't see armor support anywhere. I think in this universe. Blah, 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 blah. Excellent video. Thanks and breakdown. Thank you. I put this here because I wanted to elaborate on it, and I've kind of already spoken about it a little bit. Why there's so many anti-tank weapons, as in I think he's referring to the Carl Gustavs, is like I was saying, I'm trying to, as best as I can, when I pick the force for these battles, I'm trying to keep it intact as much as they are. So I know I cheated a little bit in that I took an infantry battalion. Actually, I didn't really cheat that much because I didn't add anything they wouldn't have. I took the infantry battalion and downscaled it to like a company combat team, but I didn't throw in any crazy shit that the battalion wouldn't have outside the Marine Air Ground Task Force. Like the Joint Fires team, they're integral to the battalion. The machine gun section, they're integral to the battalion. The weapons company, they're integral to the battalion. So I wasn't fully gammon in that I just took like a bunch of bullshit from across the Marines Orbat and threw it together. I did try to keep it as true to the battalion structure as possible while just simply downsizing it so they could fit inside the outpost. And so that's the reason why we ended up with the anti-tank weapons that we did. I would also say that the weapons company, they have, there's a new word for it now, tow missiles. They call it Sabre or something now. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the difference is. They have like vehicle-mounted HE and ATGMs, other weapons that I didn't include. There's also other assets that I didn't include, like snipers, for example. There's a sniper cell, or section rather, in Weapons Company. Didn't include them. So I pretty much chose the elements that I thought would be most effective for this combat team. So yeah, I did make a composite team, but based on what the battalion has. So that is the answer to your question in terms of why I had those anti-tank weapons. A, because we have them in the battalion, or in the companies rather, the Carl Gustavs. B, because the Carl Gustavs are sick. Anyone who's used the 84 is very fond of it, aside from like the TBI and brain rot it'll give you. But in terms of its capability, it is a awesome weapon system, particularly the HE airburst, which I use in every defensive video because by coincidence, every force I picked has 84s thus far. But yeah, they're an awesome weapon systems, and I think they would smash the bugs. Okay, what am I looking at here? What is this? Lamb Chop 138 sent 10 CSRC gift memberships. Thank you, Lamb Chop. You're a legend. I don't know what this means. Sent 10 CSRC gift memberships. Peter Allen received a gift membership by Lamb Chop. Ah, you give memberships. Oh, that's cool. Oh, skits. Oh, sick. Oh, sorry, I just had a flashback to that Kiwi dude on that video. Did someone gift some subs? You didn't have to gift subs. Thanks, man. Thanks, Lamb Chop. Appreciate you. Okay, I get it. So you gift memberships and then 10 random people on the chat, it looks like they get membership. Is that what I'm looking at right here? Is that how that works? Sick. Thank you, Lamb Chop. You're a good bloody bloke. And congratulations to everyone who just got membership. Everyone should say, thank you, Lamb Chop. Thank you, Lamb Chop 158. That's Peter Allen, Darius 0796, Targaryen, Tiki, Daniel Hood, AMP, GPO 3D, Cobra Khan 3D, Cobra Khan 88, Mr. Therapy, Axis, Mad Bulldog 99, and Tony. You all owe bloody Mad Dog, Lamb Chop, a big thank you. Thanks, Lamb Chop. You're a king. Pie time again. HK $10. Bloody hell, mate. You bloody putting food on my table. Thank you very much. I meant Helldivers 2. Oh, is that what HL is? My bad. Starship Troopers crossover. I'm not familiar. I get the gist of Helldivers, but I'm not too familiar with it. From what I can tell, though, the Helldivers are vastly more capable than the mobile infantry. I would go as far as to say overpowered, even. I think Helldivers, just a little bit I understand about them, are like an elite outfit, obviously because they're played by you, the guys in the chat, like first-person shooter. So yeah, I think they probably would rinse the mobile infantry in terms of a capability for capability comparison. Okay, wrapping up here, boys. We've nearly done. I think we've got like 2 slides left. Final, no, I'm not sure if it's final. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Apocalypse Cow 9756 says, you know what might work really well against the bug horde in a situation like this? The line charges from an M58, MIC, LIC, or Miklik, which sounds kind of like a, I don't know, sounds like a Eastern European surname. Yeah, this thing here, I just like this because it was like a creative solution. Obviously, it's not something that a Marine company or battalion has, but this thing here, the Miklik, it launches like that big, you can see in the photo, it's like a giant rope and it's filled with explosives and it's used to breach obstacles like wire and minefields. So you've got a path for all your vehicles and your dismounts and everyone to drive through. So yeah, that would be a crazy good way to destroy bugs. I think there's a story where they did this in, I want to say, Fallujah, the Marines. So there is precedent. Actually, I lie, it wasn't the Marines, because I think it's from the book House to House, which is by David Belavia. Bloke won the Medal of Honor recently, or not recently, but he ended up, I think, winning the Medal of Honor for what he did in that fight. But his book's sick. It's a great book on Fallujah. Read it. But they were US Army, not Marines. I will quickly clarify, because I know one of the points he makes in the book, because I remember it stuck out to me, is that 20 years from now, no one will even know that there was US Army in Fallujah. Everyone will just think it's Marines. So I'll tip my hat to him and give him the credit of citing the US Army in Fallujah. But yeah, Miklik would do the trick against the bugs, and I think in his story, anecdotally, they like shot one down the street, and it just like crumped all the buildings either side of the road, because there was just swarms of insurgents everywhere. Okay, let's read some comments real quick. Birdmonster says, old mate General Rico has a video reacting to and comparing Helldivers and mobile infantry. Oh, that'd be fun. I mean, I can't imagine he can't help being biased. I wouldn't blame him if he is. But yeah, that would probably be fun. Super Luigi says, Helldivers are broken because they've won the true fight in any war. The logistics. Yeah, Perrin would like that. He's the log king. What else we got? Dono here from Fred Slipknot 9. £4.99 quid, pence, whatever the cents are in British money. Thank you, Fred Slipknot. You're a bloody good man. Appreciate your dono. I love your work. I love this series. Please do a ton more videos. Can I heart that? I'll give you a heart. Thanks, mate. I appreciate you. I intend to. Joel Dalton, A5 Schmackos. Much appreciated, my man. You are a god among men. Appreciate your dono. Chaps, I think that's it. I think my last slide here is going to be... Oh, I lied. I spoke too soon. One more. Yeah, this is the last one. Wallah, I swear to God. This is from WeReRat42. Is there going to be a case where the modern military force doesn't win in one of these scenarios because they are simply outmatched in terms of technology? Like, what if a modern military force what is a modern military force going to do against the Protoss with shields and cloaking, or a shielded enemy from the Dune universe? I was about to include the Borg, but I think they can only adapt to shield energy against weapons, and a platoon of Marines would make quick work of them. So to answer his question, his first part of his question, and again, this is a common comment, and it's a theme which comes up quite a bit in comments, so that's why I chuck this in as the last one here to try and wrap this up. Is there going to be a case where the modern military force doesn't win? No, because that's what I'm going for here. I'm planning a winning strategy for a battle through the lens of hindsight. And yep, that means I have near perfect intelligence on the enemy because I know what they did. Because in my mind, I'm running this like an AAR. Like, I take the battle from the film or the game and I redo it as it happened, but I do two things. I, one, replace the force with a different force, a real military unit, because that's fun and interesting to me. And secondly, I give that force and that real military unit the numbers, resources, and weapons to win that fight through the lens of hindsight. So no is the answer to that question, because it's not what I'm going for. I'm not doing like dice rolling, who would win Batman versus Superman, flip the coin. I'm purposely giving Batman everything he would possibly need in his fight against Superman, so he will win. So I thought I'd finish on this one because it's a pretty common comment. There's often comments to the effect of like, well, you gave them 5 times the amount of men they had in the movie, and you gave them more guns. Of course they were going to win. You're a dickhead, fuckhead. Like, I get it. That's exactly, yeah, that's what I'm going for. They're always going to win because I'm planning this for those reasons, and also through the frame of like, oh, well, if I was there and if these are my guys, how would I win? Because I don't want to die. I want to win the battle, because winning battles is sick. And that, my chaps, wraps it up, brings another live stream to a close. Thank you very much, everyone who tuned in. Thank you especially everyone who donated. Thank you especially good chaps who are members. On that note, you should all be giving a big thanks to Lamb Chop, all you chaps who just became members, because I am going to start doing members only live streams in the near future, and I've been talking about it for a while. But I would like to do more live streams, really just to give back to the members. So all the dudes who have actually signed up to be members of the channel, I feel a bit dirt, like kind of not really giving much back, or to you guys who are like contributing in that way. So I would like to give back to you by doing members only live streams. I can't promise they'll be very frequent, but what my idea is there is that prior to making a video, the members will do a live stream that's like exclusive members only, and we pretty much do not the pre-brief, but the planning. As in, so I'll talk about what I've got coming up next, what I'm thinking, and kind of like my early planning stages, and just RFIs, like not even from the military sense, like the approaching the movie or the IP or the franchise in question, and doing that with the members. So the members pretty much be part of like the planning part, and then this live stream after, I will always have that open access, so anyone can jump on and do the debrief live stream. I won't change that, but yeah, I do want to start giving back to you chaps, the members more, because I do genuinely value like all these donations, and you guys being members is amazing. I love it, and I appreciate you greatly. So yeah, I want to start doing that. So I'm hoping to get one of those out. I don't want to put a timeline on it because I always make promises and then I don't keep them. But yeah, I'm going to start doing that. On the screen here, for anyone who's not a member, you sign up, you get a cool little badge. We've got a few bloody sergeants in the chat. Blokes have been members for 6 months, so that's sick. And they look like they're inspired by the Call of Duty prestige badges, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the OG one, not these new crazy Nicki Minaj as an operator skin with fart and bloody unicorn piss all over the screen. The good Call of Duties. Okay, who we got? Some Supernova, feed your cat, bro. Good, it's ending. Yeah, Fernando's bloody going nuts. I've got to get him a feed. Another comment, regressing to grunt mode. Oh man, did I? Sorry. I can't go, I don't know what I did or said, but yeah, if you go to grunt mode, you get cancelled on YouTube. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here, boys. I think that's it. I haven't missed any donos, I don't think. So yeah, I'm tired up, boys. But thank you very much. Thank you for jumping on the live stream. Thank you, members. Thank you all. And oh bloody Lamb Chop, welcome to member. Thank you. I'll see you next time in the next video. And for the members, I'll see you for the planning pre-brief, or the now we'll just call it the planning video for the next one. Peace and love, and thank you. Goodbye. Ciao.